So good morning. This is finally, I have a young man here that I knew at a young age, and this is the first of many for Inspiring Intentionally. And I want to introduce him. His name is Anthony Stokes, and I call him Tony. So we're going to do some questions with him this morning concerning my Daddy Knows Best tour. This book is all about fathers, and we know that Delaware has a fatherhood initiative trying to really connect these fathers with their children and how important it is to be present in the lives of your children. So this young man is a dad, had a dad, and so we're gonna, it's someone that was younger, and I've seen him through the years, and I personally think he's an awesome role model. So I want to bring him on first. And so good morning, Mr. Stokes. How are you?
I'm fine, Mr. Roach. How are you this morning?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and ask some questions if we can. So I just want to first of all tell everybody, who is Anthony Stokes?
Oh man, Anthony Stokes is a son of a single mother. Grew up off of hard work and just dedicating yourself. Finishing things and just a very humble background. So that's me. In a nutshell, just a good person. Yes, sir. At least I try to be.
So what is your big why? And when I say what is your big why, Simon Sinek talks about first start with why. So any goal or any accomplishments we want in life starts with the why. So what is your big why?
My big why is it's my family. That's my why. Why do I do what I do? Why do I work the hours I do? Why did I decide to go back to school? It's all about my family and putting them in a better position as they get older. That's the why. It's my family, my children.
So you say you have children. So how many children do you have, and are they male, female, male, male?
Yes, I have two children, and I actually have one on the way, Mr. Dwayne. He'll be here the 15th of May.
Okay.
But I have a 10-year-old son and I have a 6-year-old daughter, Aaron and Aaliyah,
Oh, that's
and Amir Michael will be here on the 15th.
beautiful name.
So oh yeah, thank you. But yeah, yes sir, I do it for them, and not only my children. I do it for my mom. My mom, Mr. Dwayne. She's worked so hard. She's done so much for us. So it's like just trying to pay it back. As
Yeah,
much as I can. So
yeah.
yeah, that's why.
So well, congratulations on Amira. You said Amira.
Uh, Amir, it's a boy. It's gonna be a boy,
Amir,
Amir.
Amir Michael.
Yes,
Okay,
yes sir.
awesome. So
Hmm.
congratulations on Amir Michael. And how
Thank
are
you.
your other children excited about
Oh
their
my
little
gosh.
sibling?
Yes. Yes. My daughter especially, she's younger. She just can't stop talking about the baby, and
Oh,
she's so excited to meet him. And my son, he knows his attention that he's gonna get his level's gonna go down a little bit, but he's excited too. He's gonna have a little brother to play with, and he's excited about that. So
so what was your perception about fatherhood growing up? What was your perception growing up? Not you, not the Tony
mhm.
now, but the Tony then. What was your perception of fatherhood growing
Oh,
up?
the
What did you see?
uh, the perception I had of a father was, you know, was just someone that was there and that you could talk to, and that you could have confidence in. Um, Me myself, I didn't grow up with my father necessarily, but I had father figures that were, very strong-willed and very influential in my life. But the perception that I had, just a strong male, that you could talk to and that you can confide in, and look for advice in at any point in time. You were one of those people. My uncles and my grandparent and my grandfather definitely were influential men and father-like figures in my life.
And it's interesting you said that that was your perception of the strong man. You could talk to him. And I heard you say that basically your dad was, I heard you say earlier you had a single mom. And I'm
Hmm.
saying this like I don't know you, so we can let the audience
Hmm.
know you. But you said you had this perception. but it appeared that he wasn't there. So how did you, because there are a lot of young boys that were in your position with single
Mm-hmm.
mothers. It doesn't mean their dads are deadbeats or they didn't want to be there, but sometimes things happen, which is beyond the child's control. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you get the perception that this is what a father should be without really
Um,
making it evident with yours?
my grandfather, my uncles, my my uncle Frank, he's a very influential person. He's one of the men in my life that I consider a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
He's a coach, he's a man of God, he's a father,
Mm-hmm.
and all these things he does at the highest level, and so respectable, But my grandfather, he taught me about hard work and finishing what you start and just the little things, that a father instills. I
Yeah,
learned those from those gentlemen.
that's awesome. Um, so how has that changed your perception? Because now you, of course, have been a father and you stepped
Sure,
in those
sure.
shoes. It's one thing
Mm-hmm.
to
Um,
be a son, but then you actually be a father.
mhm,
How has your
Sure,
perception changed from since that time of that Tony, now the grown man Tony?
sure. Honestly, Mr. Dwayne, my perception hasn't really changed. It's still hard work, and um, being that person that my son and my daughter can come to and talk to at any time, and that's one of the one things that I lack. Just being able to have that open line of communication with my father, and I think that's very important. Even if you don't see them, you see your father every day. Just being able to talk to them, and that's very important. So yeah, really, my perception really hasn't changed, Mr. Dwayne, at all. I definitely could be a better father, absolutely. But just the hard work and dedication that you need to put up and to be a great father is still the perception.
I have a lot of statistics in my book. One of them,
Mm-hmm.
how all the with the incarceration and the dropping out of school and robbery, all of those are like high statistics in the 80% of single home um, boys. Right now, we're just focused on the boys being.
Gotcha.
How important do you think, on a scale of 1 to 10, is it? Two questions. How important
Mm-hmm.
do you think it is for a father to show up or be present, and on a scale of 1 to 10, and give us a time of when that was something that you wanted for him to show up. How important was it for you? So I'm gonna ask it again. Two questions. The
Mm-hmm.
first one
Sure.
is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important to you do you or have you seen, or your perception of a dad showing up,
Mm-hmm.
being present, not just
Yeah.
at the basketball game or football game, but like you said, sometimes you need him to talk. I know my dad
Right.
was there in the flesh, but he wasn't there
Mm-hmm.
emotionally. So
Sure.
so
Yes,
number
sir.
one, how important is that on a scale of 1 to 10?
Mm-hmm.
And then give us a story of you, that what you've experienced with that not showing up, and how important it was for you.
That's it's just as important as conversation. If you know showing up, it's a 10. Showing up is a 10. Like I said, we may not be there, all the time, but just showing up at certain events and just showing up when it counts, it doesn't have to be a football game, it could just be a after school event or just showing up on a Saturday to ride bikes, or it doesn't have to be anything major, just maybe showing up to go see a movie, just little things like that. And oh man, so many points in my life where I would love for my father to show up, and he just wasn't there. Like I said, I had my uncles and my grandfathers, they always seem to show up in those moments, to remind me, that it's okay, and they it, my uncle, he always told me, he never bashed my father, because he had a good relationship with my dad. So my oldest uncle, he was the one always explained to me, hey, don't hate your dad, or don't feel vindictive towards him. Love thy father. And that was always important. So, but in my experience, um, just I was very athletic, Mr. Dwayne. I had a lot of football games, basketball games, and my dad, he would tell me that hey, I'm gonna try to make it, and he wouldn't. So that runs in my mind a lot of times, of him not showing up, saying he would be there, uh, but that, just like I said, but just being there is so important, so important.
I want to touch on two things. One, thank God for your uncle, your oldest uncle, speaking to you and telling you not to be vindictive of your father or hate your father, because a lot of times, a lot of dads don't get that. They have that mom that hates them. She hates them, so she's gonna make the son hate them. And
True.
I guess I kind of still want to dig what you just said, which was powerful. Even though grandpapa's there and uncle is there and mentor is there, there's nothing like your dad being there.
Oh, absolutely.
Still there's value, and I'm saying that because there's a lot of fathers that could be in a position, like you just said, a father telling a child, I'm gonna be there, and they never show up, and they feel like after a certain amount of time, it's not important. It doesn't matter to him. And I'm sitting here looking at you and listening to you, and you're 33, I think you told me a while ago, and I can still see how that could have affected you back then. And you're a grown man now, so I just want to hone that in, how important it is. Like, if a dad is not even there, it's not too late. He's always going to be a hero, period.
Sure.
That's what my dad was to me, because he showed up. And I guess that's my main focus, trying to really help fathers understand. I don't care what the family has said, or what the ex-girlfriend or ex-wife or whoever has said. It's important that you be there, show up. And when you say it, do it, or at least call and say why I couldn't do it. Don't just leave it hanging, because it leaves a lot of scars. But anyway, let's move on from there. What was your greatest moment of fatherhood as a young male growing up? What was your greatest moment? What was a not defining moment, but a wow moment? And I know you said your grandfather, your uncles. What was a wow moment that kind of was a high for you? We don't talk about more lows. What was a moment that was, you remember? Like, I know there's some things we remember as children that, oh man, I remember that. I know in my book, I talk about the time when I was 8, and I didn't know how to play baseball. My dad always told me, everybody plays baseball. You're a Roach, you're gonna play baseball. I didn't want to play it, because when I went to tryouts, I missed all the doggone, and they had a softball. I missed all of them, and I was short. I had this big helmet on and great big bat. He's talking about choke up. And I remember missing it. I'm thinking, oh, good. I done missed the ball 3 times. And, everybody going, oh, and I'm going out to the truck. And this dude, I'm thinking, oh, good, I ain't got to go. And this dude told me, well, I guess you got to go home and practice, because you got practice next week. And I'm like, what? I don't want to play. And I remember distinctly, and this is in the book, I remember distinctly, I think our last game, and I had a good friend of mine, and they were at first place. We were in last, and I remember going up to the batter box, and my dad always told me it was 3 things: that you're fast, you're strong, and you're courageous. That's who you are. And he said those words, about being a leader since I was 4. You're a leader. You're fast. You're strong. And I remember being at the batter's box. The bases were loaded, and I was little, and I played the left field back then, and I got up there, it was not a good year, because I didn't know how to play baseball. I really couldn't hit. And so this one time I hit the ball, I think it was a 3-2 count. But you understand what I'm saying. It's 3 balls, 2 strikes. And I kept hitting fouls. I just kept hitting fouls towards the left field. And so I remember the last one I connected with it, and it went far out by the end of the fence, but I thought it was a foul. So I was just like, I fouled again. I think I'm out. So I was ready to walk back to the dugout, and I heard my dad say, run. And I dropped my bat and just started running. And long story short, I made an inside the park home run, and of course we won
Mhm.
the game. And
Right.
I just heard his voice. You know, the coach. You know, you're supposed to listen to
Mhm.
the coach, but I remember my dad. I'm hearing his voice, and he's saying,
Sure.
"Run." And so that was something big for me. Like, wow, I
Mm.
remember he told me
Mhm.
to run. I heard my dad was out of all those people yelling and screaming, and I heard my dad say,
Sure.
"Run!" And I ran. He says, it's in, run!" And I just started running.
Mhm.
So that was something big for me. So what was something, a wow moment for you that you remember 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever it was? What's a moment you
Mm.
remember from that? And even though if your dad wasn't there, that father figure that you were talking about a while ago.
Oh man, so many moments like that. Uh, I mean, on in the sports world, in school, my family, they're also very and education is very important to them. So graduation, high school graduation. I mean, plenty of sports games, and just hearing that voice of my uncles and my grandfather. Getting little pep talks. Before I went up to bat or before I went onto the field. Those talks. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, playing baseball. Go back to playing baseball. My uncle Dave, he's my youngest uncle. He's buy me cleats, buy me gloves, buy me bats. You know, he was that one. Before the games or before, when I was up to bat. I could hear his voice.
Yeah.
So definitely my uncles, my uncle Dave, my uncle Frank. My grandpa Frank. They those are some wild moments. Like I said, any time, Mr. Dwayne, like I ran into a struggle or I had adversity, those three men there, you know, very influential. Yeah, their voices are very strong.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, Couple more questions, then I'll let you go.
Okay.
What advice would you give to young fathers? How old were you when you had your first son? You said he was 10.
Uh,
How old were you then?
yes. Shoosh, I was what, 20, 22, 23. Yeah, 23. Actually, yeah, 23, about to go on 24. So yeah.
So, what
Hmm.
advice would you give? Could you give to young fathers that were once in your? I mean, you've been a while now. He's 10, so I'm
Hmm.
sure at 23, going on 24,
Sure.
it's scary. It's kind of scary, you know.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure to be a good father, especially the world that we live in today. Fathers are, you know, not looked at as highly as mothers as far as taking care of the children. But fathers, you're the rock. You know,
Mhm.
you 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 hold that family together for the most part. I mean, what you know, how can I say? You know, it doesn't take a lot to be a good father, but you just have to put forth the effort. A lot of the young men, they have their whole lives ahead of them, and putting and being a father and putting forth that effort isn't the most important thing. But I feel that as though once you're a father, that is the most important thing.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
just try to stay humble. Just try to remember family first.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's God and then it's family first. So and pray, pray
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
So any advice I give to a new father, the pressure, it may seem difficult at times, but if you just pray, a lot of times it works. It works. So,
And be willing to listen to good advice.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dwayne, had a call coming through.
And be willing to listen to, like you said, good advice, like you got from
Sure.
your uncles. Um, so I heard you say about your grandfather and your uncles. What is one
Hmm.
lesson that you learned from them? Just one lesson that you took from them in growing up.
Hmm.
I know you learned
Um,
a lot, but what is one lesson that sticks with you?
oh yeah, absolutely. And I just recently visited my grandfather on Monday this week, and he was always big on communication. You
Mm,
know, communication between people. You know, there has to be a listener and there has to be a receiver. And and that is one of the most important lessons that I could learn, because a lot of times, that's so important. If you just hearing the information and being able to, disseminate the situation, and or the information that you're getting, communication and listening is very important. And some sometimes it's not easy, because we want to do our own thing and we're kind of go in our own direction, and listening is, especially to someone else, it's not always, you know received well, but it's made me, it's very humbling. Like I said, I've been able to grow up and take criticism very well, and that's an important thing, because a lot of times we're thinking we're doing the right thing, and there's people to come along and say, hey, listen, that you're not doing the right thing, or you could be doing it better than what you're doing. And that's very important, to stop and listen and to be able to receive that information. So, and also, as far as communication, being able to speak well and being able to have people understand you and when you're talking, that's very also important.
Yeah. I I appreciate that lesson that you learned about communication, because that is very important, to communicate, especially with your children. As a
Oh,
dad,
absolutely.
it's very important that you communicate. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on my last question, just some
Sure.
final thoughts. But I want to say before I ask you for your final thoughts that I remember you growing up, um, and it was probably in your teenage years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I
Very
think,
vivid time.
yeah, you were going through a little something, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew that it was a lot of the daddy thing. I never told you that, but I knew it
Mm-hmm.
was, and I
Oh
had
yeah.
to be hard on you because I remember your mother bringing you and your brother to a low income housing area, but
Mm-hmm.
you weren't like the other kids, and I could
Mm-hmm.
never get that through your head. So a lot of days you were kind
Mm-hmm.
of alone, even though you were around everybody, you were kind of alone because you weren't them, in a
Sure.
sense. In a
Yeah,
sense, and
absolutely.
I
I
remember,
understand.
I remember one thing in particular. You had a very bad day. I could always, not saying you were perfect, but I knew you would never disrespect me. You would never the
Mm-hmm.
type of, my Terrence was still a different story. He was a little mean, but he was
Mm-hmm.
younger. But you were the Tony, the cool, collective Tony, but I could see in your eyes the pain, the pain that you never thought you were good enough. I never understood that. I'm like, Tony, you're light skinned. What is wrong with you? Oh, nothing, Mr. Dwayne. What the heck is wrong with
Mm-hmm.
you? You've got a pretty mom. And, I couldn't get it. Why, you're a light skinned brother. Everybody like you. But it doesn't mean anything when you have not been affirmed by a father. And although,
Yeah.
you had your uncles around. But I remember one time in particular, I don't know, something happened. I think we were shooting at the particular place. And I told you, don't go outside. And you don't need to be
Mm-hmm.
outside. And I think you went anyway. And because you were just dealing with a lot of stuff and you were kind of rebelling. And
Mm-hmm.
I was a male, so of course you're gonna take it out on me. And
Sure.
I remember being very upset with you. And I remember talking to your mom. I said, Tony was blah 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 blah, and da da da. And then he didn't even say he apologized to me. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
her, I think, getting on you. And the next day you came and was like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Dwayne." And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Well, I don't receive it. I don't receive it because it didn't come from
Mm-hmm.
you. Your mom made."
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, I can't win. I can't win. So your
Oh
mom
wow.
came, she was like, yeah, bring back memories, right? Your mom was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you didn't, do it. I said, Miss Rhonda, um, Tony's going to be a great man one day. And I'm only trying to teach him a lesson. He might not get it right now, but I'm trying to teach him a
Mm-hmm.
lesson about being a leader. And he's
Mm-hmm.
a leader in this club. And I don't expect him, I'm not putting all the pressure on him, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
expect him to be like these other guys because of you. I said, and I know your grandfather. I remember the grandfather, Frank. I remember hearing that, and the uncle. I remember those two. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, I know they don't teach him that either. So I'm trying to teach him. So anyway, long story short, you came back. We were outside playing basketball or something one of those days, and I remember you saying thank you. You gave me a hug
Mm-hmm.
and you said thank you, and I'm thinking, what for? But this is maybe some months down the road, and I guess you
Mm-hmm.
got yourself together, whatever that teenage slump you were going through. You got through it, and
Mm-hmm.
you came out on top. And I expect to see the same thing. I don't talk to you all the time. I don't follow you on social media per se, but I expect to see that same young man that I saw in that club without that presence that you wanted, desired so much. You made it thus
Mm-hmm.
far. So I don't want you to ever think that you're not enough for your son. I'm not saying you are, but don't ever think, because I keep hearing you say, about being a father in the media, and it does make it hard. It does make it difficult. But there's uh, no book on how to be a dad. There's no book on it. There's no instructions. There's no prerequisite of being one.
Sure.
But I know that the same young man that I saw the potential in back then at 12, that's when I first met you. At 12 years old, I know it's still in you. And then when you got 15 and 16, that I told you that particularly because I saw the strength in you. And I don't know what you deal with internally. I don't know what you deal with internally, but you're one of the good ones. And I'm not, and you know me, I'm not saying that just to make you feel good. I dare not say that. No, you're not perfect, and I'm sure you can work on some things, but you're a good one. And anybody would be happy. Amir and your daughter, I forgot her name, and your son.
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure. I'm sure. Just you being present is awesome enough. And don't ever doubt yourself. I know you used to doubt yourself sometimes. Don't ever doubt yourself. Live your life, be the best Anthony you can be, and that's all you can do. And I'm sure your uncles have given you some awesome advice. And just for me, you're one of the hopefuls that came from the place where we were at. I don't want to say names, but you were one of the hopefuls, and I appreciate seeing you now. Like, wow. So it makes me feel good that I did something right. That day when I was hard on you, I was like, I'm not accepting it, Tony. You're like, what? But you came back and you said, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate it. I think you were done. Got licensed, and you were, like 11th grade, and you saw me somewhere, and I think I was still working in that environment. You came, you saw me, stopped, and I say thank you. That made my day. Like that made my day. So I appreciate you for some of those times that I felt like giving up and felt like I was making a difference and felt like, what's the point when these boys don't have fathers here? What's the point? Thank you. Still today, I have some, of course, it's in a bigger scale. I'm in church, but these guys come to the church, and it's a young boy in particular, so he want to change the world. So I'm thinking about him, and I brought you up. I said, I'm going to have a podcast with this young man. I want you to listen to it because he came from, basically where you were from. And so I just want to say thank you for the inspiration you have spread, not just among me, but I'm sure other people looked up to you because I think you were the oldest at the time. I'm positive they looked up to you then. So I just don't want you to ever doubt Tony. Don't ever doubt Tony, Don't ever doubt him. Okay?
Yes, sir. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Dwayne. You were a very influential person, growing up in my life. And, I don't want to take, anything away from you or, the club that we were at because, that time in my life, that was, that was a very hard time. And you were one of the male figures in my life that, I seen every day and you were always positive. And so, yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Thank
I
you, sir.
appreciate that. So your final thoughts, any final words you want to give out to, you can give a shout out to your son, whatever you
Yeah.
want to do, but just.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely have to give a shout out to my babies. Actually they were buzzing in a few minutes ago. I think
Oh,
that's why
wow.
my
I
video call dropped.
apologize.
Oh no, you're fine. They early birds. They're on spring vacation, so they up early and they're probably getting on the mama's nerves by now. So but Mr. Dwayne, I think what you're doing is awesome. Is awesome. Please don't stop. Keep it up. Try to touch, as many lives of these young men as you can. Very important. Um, Especially the world that we're living in now, with these young men growing up, it was hard enough before, and it's just getting a little tougher every day. So, keep doing your thing, sir. And I love it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All
Not a
love
problem.
to you. And tell your mother I asked for her. She's one of my
I
favorite
will.
parents.
I will.
Thank you so much.